everyone, Dr. Erica Zelfand here, aka Dr.Z. Want to talk to you today about something that's gotten really trendy in the functional medicine world and around which there is a ton of confusion and mass hysteria, and that's the MTHFR genetic mutation and methylation defects. MTHFR stands for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase, and it's the name of a gene in the body which codes for an enzyme by the same name. Now, this enzyme is important for helping the body properly utilize certain nutrients, in particular vitamin B12 and folic acid, which is also called vitamin B9. These nutrients are essential for a number of biochemical reactions that happen in the body. So much so that if you were to open up a biochemistry textbook, which unless you're a nerd like me, I don't recommend doing because it might just get overwhelming and confusing really quickly. But if you were to do it, you would see that of the myriad of biochemical reactions that happen in the body, the B vitamins are essential for a number of those reactions. So when it comes to B12 and folic acid in particular, those nutrients become really important for reactions that have things to do like proper cellular turnover, cells dying when they're supposed to die, and healthy new cells being created when they're supposed to be created. The nutrients are also important for energy production, for detoxification, for controlling inflammation in the body, which in turn can affect blood coagulability and cardiovascular health. Those nutrients are also important for neurological health, whether that's the way our nerves perform peripherally in the body, or even our brain level, things controlling mood and whether we're depressed or anxious. So these nutrients are very important for a number of reactions to happen, but unfortunately some of us have genetic mutations that affect our body's ability to properly utilize these vitamins. So when that happens, even if we are taking these vitamins in supplement form, we can still have symptoms and problems associated with deficiency of those nutrients. Those genetic mutations are really trendy to screen for right now in a number of different functional medicine circles. I screen my patients for them as well, but I don't screen everybody. So those genetic mutations are called single nucleotide polymorphisms, or SNPs, or SNPs for short. So another way to understand what's happening in people that have the MTHFR mutation is to use the analogy of a smartphone. So a smartphone has all kinds of functionality. It can make phone calls, it can be used to place text messages, take pictures, record videos, get you directions. You can even play Angry Birds on your smartphone while you're sitting on the toilet. You can do all kinds of things with your smartphone. But you can't do anything with a smartphone until you turn it on. And so it's like that with B vitamins. People need to use their B vitamins to do all these functions in the body, to do things like neurological health and energy production, detoxification, create healthy new cells, fight inflammation. But none of those things can happen until those vitamins, in particular B12 and folate, get turned on or activated so that they can do their proper biochemical function. So if I didn't know how to turn on a smartphone and somebody handed me a smartphone, I wouldn't be able to place a phone call, even if the smartphone worked properly. If somebody handed me 5 iPhones, I still wouldn't be able to place a phone call until I learned how to turn on one of those phones. And if somebody handed me 5,000 smartphones, I still wouldn't be able to place a phone call if I didn't know how to turn any of those phones on. And so that's the case with the B vitamins as well. If we don't know how to turn them on, we can't utilize them properly. And this is why somebody can have normal blood levels of B12 and folate, or even high levels in their blood of B12 and folic acid, and still have symptoms of deficiency of those nutrients. It's not necessarily just how much is in the bloodstream, but it's how much you can actually use. what you can turn on, and what you can utilize. The presence of having an MTHFR genetic mutation does not necessarily mean that the MTHFR enzyme won't function properly. It just means that there's the potential that it won't. There's a lot of misinformation out there around this. So if you've got the mutation and you don't have any of the health conditions or symptoms that I just listed, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to develop those problems. It just means that you have an increased susceptibility to potentially someday have those issues. There's a lot of mass hysteria around this gene, and for this reason, I just wanted to make this video to reassure you that if you are asymptomatic and you did this test and you found out that you have the mutation, you don't need to panic. Now, if you do have the mutation and you do have some of the health conditions associated with it, or a strong family history of the conditions associated with it, it might be worth it to supplement accordingly to support the body more properly. Now, unfortunately, we can't fix a broken gene. And for that reason, there's no point in ever redoing the genetic test because your genes are your genes and you're sort of just stuck with them. But what we can do is we can compensate for the defective enzyme function by skipping the step that requires the enzyme to work in order for the nutrients to get turned on. So to go back to the smartphone analogy here, this is where we turn on the smartphone before we give it to the body. And we do that in the form of what's called activated or methylated B vitamins. So we find B vitamins that are already turned on so that when we take them, we don't have to worry about if our enzyme function is going to work properly or not. Our bodies can just take in those nutrients and use them for biochemical reactions right away. So the way to know if what you're buying is activated or not activated is to look at the label of the products that you're considering. When it comes to B12, usually B12 in commercial products is listed on the label as being cyanocobalamin or hydroxycobalamin. Now those forms are great if you've got good MTHFR enzyme function. But if you want to just skip that step altogether and go with an activated B12, then the form to look for on the label is going to be listed as methylcobalamin. When it comes to folic acid, the form to look for is methylfolate. It can also be listed as 5-MTHF. And again, those are the forms that are already turned on, that your body knows exactly what to do with, that your body does not need to interact with in order to turn on and use for proper biochemical function. So who do I test for this mutation in my practice? Primarily 3 different groups of people. The first one is women of reproductive age who are seeking to become pregnant. I want to know if those women have this mutation because if they do, it could potentially affect their ability to get pregnant or to stay pregnant. It could also carry a risk for the woman's baby to have cleft palate, spina bifida, or even potentially behavioral issues or autism spectrum later in life. So I really want to know if a woman's got this mutation so that I can support her nutritionally before she becomes pregnant. The other major group that I like to screen for MTHFR is children who are on the autism spectrum or who have a family member on the autism spectrum, as well as kids that have developmental delays or behavioral issues. Again, just so that I can know how to best nutritionally support those children. And keep in mind that this MTHFR mutation can also affect these kids' abilities to detoxify. So if I know that a child has this mutation, I'm going to support their detoxification pathways as well through other nutritional means. And the third group of people that I screen for this condition are everyone else that has symptoms of conditions that could be associated with B12 or folate deficiency or the mutation. So people that have mood issues, neurological issues, issues with energy, inflammation, cardiovascular health, detoxification. So if someone has a symptom of those conditions or a strong family history of one of those conditions, I'll consider screening them as well for the mutation. So that's the skinny on MTHFR. If you've got the mutation, if you're an MTHFR mutant, don't despair. There is nutritional hope and there is healing in store for you. I hope you learned something through watching this video. If you did, please leave a message in the comment section below and be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'm Dr. Erica Zelfand, aka Dr. Z, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Now, how the heck do you turn this thing on? Is it like does it like read my retina? No. Is it this button? No. Magic password, abracadabra, banana, 42. Dude, maybe is it like a clap on? I just wanna make a phone.